All right, my friends, I believe we are live, but this OBS has a pretty bad delay. So let's just assume we're alive. Welcome back, my friends. We are here. It is 11:52 p.m. on 8/20/19, and I want to talk to you about the Integra DRX, 4.2 and 4.3 AV receivers. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Um, I know we were having problems with microphone clip-ins in the past couple of streams. I think I finally resolved it. I'm between like 3 different streaming softwares, and for some reason the mic gains are way different on each of them, and the internal mic settings are way too high from another streaming device I use, and that's what was causing this before. So I know people are gonna bitch, but this is not gonna be like HGTV quality streaming here, my friends. This is streaming on YouTube is still not state of the art. It's not gonna be as good as when we do a produced video, but I'd rather get you guys more content more frequently because I don't have a lot of time to always produce videos. I'm producing content on the audioholics.com website as well. So I I did a measurements video about the DRX 4.2 a couple of months ago. I hope you guys, microphone problems, no way. Thanks, Techno Dad. I did the measurement video maybe a month or two ago on the DRX 4.2 receiver. I'm not going to go heavily into details on the measurements on that. I'll link up the video to that if you guys want to see it. Overall, the DRX 4.3 measured pretty well. It has an excellent preamp section. Actually, it kind of surprised me. I didn't expect the Integra to do so well on the preamp section. It puts out like 3.8 volts RMS. Very clean, very good to use as a preamp if you need to add external amplification. And the biggest downfall on this receiver is it just doesn't drive 4-ohm loads very well at all. I do not recommend this receiver with 4-ohm speakers unless you're using external amplification. But there's a lot of cool things to like about this receiver. And what I'd like to do is share my screen with you. Let's see if this works. And here we are. So there are 2 versions of this receiver. Basically, I got the 4.2 maybe about 6 months ago. And the reason what attracted me to this receiver, and here it is right here if you want to see a better picture, is Integra is the only brand that still supports HD base T. And for those of you that don't know what HD base T is, it's basically a way to convert HDMI to Ethernet. So you basically have an HD base T receiver built in, or transmitter built into the Integra receiver, and that comes out as basically Cat5 Ethernet. And you could run that, a couple hundred feet to whatever room you want to run it to. And then you have the HD transceiver on the other side, HD base T transceiver, that you have to buy separately for this unit. And then it converts it back to HDMI to go into your TV. And that's just awesome. And one thing about the Integra one is it has the most state-of-the-art HD base T transceiver available. It'll do the full 18.2 gigabit per second. I didn't test it to that capability. The display I had in my bedroom system was 1080p. So I was kind of limited to that, but that was I would say about 70 or 80 feet of cable, and I never had a hiccup with this. It just worked perfectly. You see, I have all of my equipment for my bedroom system in my theater room in this house. So I needed to do HD base T. I couldn't do HDMI because I pre-wired this house back in 2005 when HDMI was kind of just emerging at the time. And you can't run standard HDMI cables, 100 feet. You'd have to go with an active solution. So I like that Integra still supports this. The thing that kind of surprised me though is they dropped the HD base T support in the 4.3 model, which is the newer version of this receiver. So the 4.3 model, instead of having HD base T, has a wireless built into it. And I kind of tabulated the differences here. So when you go from the 4.2 to the 4.3, you get the firmware is going to be coming for Atmos height virtualization, so that if you don't have Atmos speakers or height speakers, it'll do a virtualization through DSP. That's coming. The IMAX Enhanced is coming for this as well. I'm not sure when this firmware is coming out. I didn't have it at the time when I tested this. Integra is claiming that it's a new, much faster quad-core processor. although I didn't see any problems with processing speed on this receiver. It was pretty instantaneous. Zone B output works great for using wireless headphones, so you could do the wireless headphones on it now. I like the white rear back panel. I'll show you that in a second. It says upgraded clear binding post, supports AirPlay 2, Wi-Fi capability. So yeah, the back panel on the 4.3 is white instead of black, and I really like that. It does make things a lot easier to read on the silk screen when you have this contrast. So Integra did a good thing here. I hope other receiver manufacturers kind of follow that. I think that's really kind of cool looking. So I basically have the 4.2, and I showed you what the differences are in the 4.3. Performance-wise, they're pretty much identical. And overall, I did like this receiver. The fact of the matter is it has 9 built-in amplifiers, but it has 11 channels of processing, and it's $1,400. That's really cool because now you could add a 2-channel amplifier and you could do a full 7.1.4 speaker configuration. But there's a limitation to how you can do this. Unlike the Denon 3600, which you could reassign those front channels to the height channels or to the surround channels, and then you can run a bigger amp for the front channels, you can't do that with this. If you want to have bigger amps on the front channels, you actually have to run a separate amp for that and then another amplifier to do 7.1.4. So you can't just get a 2-channel amp and send it to the front speakers on this receiver and have a full 7.1.4 like you can on the Denon 3600. And the Denon 3600 is cheaper. It's about, $300 or $400 cheaper. So there are some cons to this receiver. I do think it's a little pricey. I think $1,400 is asking a lot for the performance level of this receiver, but it does have some custom integrated features that you're not going to get with its sister company Onkyo or Pioneer, and we could go over a little bit about that and you guys can determine whether or not that's important to you. But here's the speaker wiring diagram I just wanted to show you. So if you add a 2-channel amp to this receiver, you're actually plugging that power amp into the surround backs, and then you're powering it off to do your 7.1.4. So without that amplifier, you're not going to have surround back channels. So just in case you guys are wanting to do that. I do like the on-screen display on this receiver. I thought it was very intuitive. Everything is kind of well organized. There's a lot of different listening mode presets I wasn't anticipating. You can configure for each type of input. I just think it's incredibly good flexibility here in how you set this thing up. The bass management on this receiver is awesome, and it's not surprising since it has a THX stamp on it. I know people give THX a hard rap. It doesn't have the weight that it used to have, but the one thing about THX you are going to get is proper slopes on your crossovers, proper integration of everything, the bass management. The fact that you actually have the ability to adjust the low-pass filter on the LFE channel separately from your other channels is awesome. Yamaha ditched this. Yamaha, I think, defaults it at 120 hertz, and you can't, sorry about that, and you can't change it. So I mean, it's great to see that they still have this here, and you could set different crossover points for your speaker groups. I measured it all out, and their slopes are correct. Everything, there was no surprises here. This is excellent bass management. I do want to talk about this dreaded impedance switch. The default 6 ohm setting, you need to leave it on that regardless, which is here. If you put it on the 4 ohm setting, you are nuking the power in this receiver, and you're nuking it really badly because this receiver has so many nannies in it. It's one of the worst I've seen. I mean, this thing drops down to like 17 watts a channel if you start putting it in the 4 ohm setting, or if you run this receiver into protection mode with 4 ohm speakers. Don't use 4 ohm speakers on this receiver unless you're using a external amplifier, and never set the impedance switch to the low setting. Leave it on default. I don't like that they make it so accessible that you could change this. I wish they would have put the switch on the back where people would ignore it, because I know, even though I say this 100 times on the video, someone's going to ask in the comments below, hey, I have Tannoy speakers that are rated at 6.2 ohms. Should I set the impedance switch high or low? The answer, I've said it a million times, leave it on the manufacturer's default high setting. Never set it low. Never, 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 never. Never going to do it. Never. Please don't. So I hope that's clear enough this time. I did not test the AccuQ EQ. I know we've looked at that in the past and it wasn't the most impressive auto EQ system that we've seen. I do miss the fact that Onkyo's and Integras used to have Odyssey, and I'm kind of wondering in the future, since Sound United is acquiring these companies, or Onkyo at least, is if they're going to bring in Odyssey back. Not sure if they will, because part of the reason why the Onkyo line is such a high value is, I think, probably because they ditched Odyssey and they just use the AccuQ, their own licensing. You know, they don't have to license it for Odyssey anymore. They're doing their own system, so that saves them money. And that's the one thing I wanted to talk about, is this receiver for $1,400 is competing against, you know, Pioneer, and I'm trying to find the model numbers. It's in this review. The Pioneer and Onkyo models. The Onkyo just came out with a new model that's, I think it's the 840. Let me see if I can find that here. You can tell we are live, my friends, because I don't have it right in front of me. Here it is. Okay, so the Onkyo 830, which was an awesome deal about a month ago. I think it was on sale for $549, and it's no longer on sale for that price. There's an 840 model now, and I think the retail on that's $1,000. And then the Pioneer VSX LX504. Both of those receivers have meatier amp sections than this Integra one. They're both rated at 120 watts. You can see right here, and it's, you know, it's a heavier receiver. It's got a bigger power supply, and it's just probably better at driving 4-ohm loads. The same thing with the Pioneer. The Pioneer does not have the Class D in this one, so I think it has a very similar amp topology to the Onkyo. It's killing me that they're still showing this 230 watt, 6-ohm, 1 kilohertz, 10% crap first. They said they were going to change that. You guys haven't changed it. Naughty, naughty. You're supposed to show the 120 watt 2-channel driven first. I'm going to be sending them an email shortly after this video. So both of these receivers, if you're using the internal amplification and you have no plans on adding external amplification, I would choose either of these receivers over the Integra, to be honest with you. But the Integra does give you some installer options. You get more triggered outputs, you get, you know, more customization of stuff. Of course, this gets you the HD Base T if you go with the 4.2 model, but you also get the Integra Pc Setup App. Now, I didn't realize at the time that this is only accessible to custom installers. So they don't license this to, you know, if you go and buy this receiver on your own, you're probably not going to have access to the software without having a authorized dealer give it to you. But this thing is pretty powerful. I mean, I could go in without using this lousy remote control, because this remote sucks. And most remote controls in $1,000 receivers suck these days. But you can configure everything in here. And in fact, excuse me, it's easier to get to your Dolby configurations with the center spread on or off when you're doing 2-channel up mixing. It's easier to get to that here than it is in the on-screen menu. I couldn't even find it in the on-screen menu, but I found it here. So if you're listening to 2-channel sources and you don't want all that information to dump into the center channel when you turn the Dolby up mixer on, you want to turn center spread on. But you don't want to have center spread on when you're watching a 2-channel movie that you're up mixing to Dolby, because you want to have the focus on the center channel. I wish Integra and Onkyo would make it easier, like have a hotkey on the remote. It used to be back in the day before Atmos, we had Dolby Pro Logic 2 Cinema and Dolby Pro Logic 2 Music, and it was easy to know which one to use. Now you have to go into a hidden menu and turn center spread on or off. And this is just for 2-channel sources. I'm not talking about 5.1 and above. So you can get to it here, but you have to be an installer to do it. And I don't think Onkyo has this capability yet, and I don't think Pioneer has it. I know that when I spoke to Integra, they said they are going to offer a consumer version of this soon. Preferably, instead of downloading software on your PC, I'd like to see it IP controlled, like Yamaha has it. Yamaha, you type in your IP address /setup, and you can get into the receiver and do whatever you want. And that's from anywhere on your network, which is great. If you don't have your receiver in the same room and you want to make all these different changes, it makes it so much easier when you have this kind of access. And this is a good feature to have, and I'm glad to see Integra is not only has this feature, but they're going to be expanding upon it in the future. So that's a great little tool there for you guys. The other thing I like about this receiver is it's got really good app control. I downloaded the Integra app on my phone, and I kind of have to be careful because I think the wife is using the receiver now in the bedroom. But it works really well. At first I wasn't too thrilled with it. I thought it was missing stuff, but then you kind of dig into it, and yeah, this works really well. I have pretty much full control of the receiver on here. If you want to change volume levels, you go up and down actually on your phone volume. I couldn't figure that out at first. I'm like, where is the volume control? And then I realized it's up and down on your phone. And then you have all your access to your apps, whether you use Tidal, Pandora. I use Tidal. I don't know if they have Qbuzz here or not. That's like a new streaming service I just started using. I don't know if they support that yet, but I use Tidal and Pandora and I had no problems with it. And I really like, there's a Thx Music Mode, which I was surprised. I used it for 2-channel, and I was going back and forth whether I liked the Thx Music Mode or whether I liked the Dolby Up Mixer with center spread on. I was really impressed with that, so I haven't heard the new Thx modes, and it was pretty darn good. Let me see what else we have here. I just have some listening tests in here, and I just talk about if you guys want to read this. Oh, to let you know, the speaker system I'm using all RBH in-walls from the MC line, which is discontinued. They haven't made those in years. But I have this receiver basically hooked into my bedroom system. So I've got, you know, MC6s here and then a 414 center. I've got 2 in-wall subwoofers with back boxes. They're the TS10s, I believe. And then I have 2 more in-ceiling speakers for surround. So I'm only doing 5.2 in this room, and that's what I'm using the capability of this receiver. And it's worked out well because I know there's 9 channels in this receiver, but it's pushing it to put 9 amplifiers in such a small receiver with only 1 heatsink and all these giant fans in it. I think this receiver does really well with 5, maybe 7 channels driven, but definitely keep it 8 ohms and make sure you have good ventilation. But I didn't have any problems. I came from using a Marantz SR6004 for years, and that's a great little receiver, but I wanted to upgrade so I could do the HD-based G transmission and have lossless audio and have better video options. And I did that, and I didn't notice any like downgrade in sound quality. So that was a good thing to say. In fact, I watched most of season 3 Daredevil on this setup, and man, what a great show that is. And what a tragedy that Disney basically pulled the plug on, and it's not going to be on Netflix anymore, and they're not continuing it, because to me that was one of the best superhero shows ever made. So I hope it comes back in a year or two and we don't have to pay for it on Disney app, because I'm on the fence about that. But anyways, I have all the measurements here. I'm not going to recant it. You can go and watch our video. I'll link it up. Overall, like I said, it's a very good preamp section on this receiver, and it's got a respectable amp section. If you're driving 8 ohm loads, it'll put out, you know, 70 watts a channel clipped, or about 60 watts for 7 channels driven, 8 ohms. So that's pretty darn good. Yeah. So overall, I like the receiver. It's not perfect. It's a little pricey. I think the reason why they dropped the HD-based T in this model was it added about $400 cost to the receiver, and then you have to buy their HD-based T receiver on the other end, which is another $400, and that's $1,800 basically to do that. I don't think people in this price class are willing to do that, because you could spend $800 is a lot to add to a price of a mid-price receiver just to do that one feature that probably a lot of people aren't using. So I can understand that they reserve this for their higher end models. But based on what I measured here with the preamp section, and the fact that Shane Bolin over at Spare Change has been using an Integra processor for a while in his rack, it's one of his favorite processors that he's reviewed, I would say that this is a solid choice. If you can get this on sale, I know they probably will be coming out with a replacement model soon, and Onkyo and Integra seem to be really discounting their stuff a lot lately. So you could get some good deals, but this looks like a nice processor. This is definitely a contender in the, you know, $2,500 price range. So I like it. I am going to be checking out some more Integra and Onkyo stuff in the future. And let me go into the little Q&A stuff here and see if we can answer any questions for you guys. Oh, there's a lot of questions here. I have the Integra DRX-4.2 and love it. Cool. You know, I really wish I could go back to that StreamYard program, because then I could just pop these questions right on. But then I know people are going to bitch that it's compressed. So I don't know. Maybe I'll switch back and forth. I'll keep you guys guessing. Let's see. Thanks, Matt. I hope that the acquisition of Onkyo by Sound United Odyssey will come back as an option. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that, so we'll see. Microphone problems? No, I already read that one. Okay. Let's see. Where's the home theater dude? I have no idea where that is. I'm running an Emotiva XMC. That's good. Let's see. Is IMAX Enhance on the 4.2? No, I don't think IMAX Enhance is supported on the 4.2. I haven't heard anything about it as an upgrade to it. So if that's important to you, then definitely go with the 4.3. Odyssey is great, at least for me. I hope that they bring it back. That's the reason why I bought Denon instead of Onkyo with THX certification. So maybe Onkyo and Integra will hear that. I read that comment, and maybe it'll change their minds. Onkyo has always been the best wattage value, much more than Yamaha in the same price range. Yeah, I guess, I mean, that is true. Onkyo receivers at 1,000 and below are really hard to beat. If you look at what they're giving you in those models, like the 830, for example, that thing is, nothing touches that thing, especially at, you know, closeout for 600 bucks. Receivers at $600 are a toy in comparison to that. I had the RX 830 and hated it. It was slow, laggy, and gutless for power. Maybe it was gutless for power because you had the impedance switch set low, because I doubt that that was gutless for power unless you had like 84 dB sensitive speakers. But the slow and laggy, I guess I can understand. I didn't experience that on the Integra, so maybe it uses a different DSP. Hey Gene, thanks for all you do for the home theater community. You are welcome, Neil. Thank you. I have an Onkyo AVR for my first Onkyo product and love it so far. Yeah, you know, Onkyo had some problems a few years ago with HDMI, but I think they're over that hiccup, especially now if they're going to be under the Sound United umbrella. They're going to be sharing resources with Denon and Marantz and Pioneer, so I think that that's going to be their HDMI platform. Economies of scale across all brands is going to be bulletproof. The Onkyo RZ800 series has done an outstanding amp for the front, left and right. I have the 810 and it handles my Pioneer Elite Atmos speakers just fine. I have all the other channels on outboard amps. Cool. I have the Pioneer SC07 receiver. Do I need an amp? I have Vienna Acoustics Haydn Grant. Yes, you do. The Pioneer Elite SC07 has a problem driving 4-ohm speakers, especially at high frequencies. Vienna Acoustics are, if they're a 4-ohm speaker, check the impedance curve on that. If it dips into the 4-ohm range above a few kilohertz, I would definitely get a separate amplifier, because as I measured on the bench, that receiver just kind of fell apart when it was driving 4-ohm loads above 3 kilohertz. Daredevil was amazing. I just lost a comment. Why did that do that? Daredevil was amazing and look forward to being reborn, at least on TV. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be on TV. I think it's going to be, you have to pay for it on Disney. When should we expect the DRC R1.2 pre-pros? The 1.1 is not worth 2.5K. Last year's model, but only missing HLG and W. I have no idea. I'm going to go to CEDIA in a couple of weeks, and hopefully they'll have some announcements on new products. I have a Yamaha 5100 and 2 MX A5000s. Wow. And an Alpha 205, 2 Panamax 5400s, DBX 2-channel 31 band EQ, crapload of Klipsch speakers. That sounds like quite a setup you got there. Love your channel, very informative. Still trying to learn. Yes, I'm running ELAC Unifies. So I guess that's about it. I just wanted to do a quick video. I hope the sound quality is good on this one. I hope the video quality is good on this one. I'm going to come back Friday. I'm going to have a special guest, and we're going to talk about speaker drivers. Do exotic materials make a difference in sound quality or not? So that should be an interesting broadcast. But I think I'm going to wrap this one up. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up on it, subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit the bell notification so you know when we have a new video up or when we're going live. And don't forget our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics, and you can get some special perks that we have on there. You can check it out. Appreciate all your support. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.